What's burdening you, cousin?
I've never really felt like I've had a family. And I think in some ways, it is also why I am disinterested in having a family. I'm just kind of like, if it happens, okay. But it's not something that I like am planning for or feel like I need to feel complete. I've always kind of felt like it's just me and my mama.
My family dynamics is totally broken. And even for my kids, unfortunately, my kids grew up without grandparents. Being that my mom is deceased and their dad's mom is not in the picture, they didn't have the grandparent experience.
I don't have not a one Christmas memory from that side of the family of us all just kind of being together growing up.
I didn't have control over it. Shit, our parents didn't have control over it. We just have to let it go.
Our grandmother gave her away to be raised by somebody else.
I didn't find out we had this dynamics until maybe 9 or 10 years old, that my grandmother that I was raised with wasn't my maternal biological grandmother. And I was upset. I was pissed because
I don't have memories of all of the cousins having a sleepover at Granny's house, how other first cousins have.
I feel close to you. I feel closer to you now than I've ever felt.
We like to talk, and we come from parents who didn't talk about anything, and grandparents who were even more on mute. And so I think your generation is the catalyst for that. And then millennials, we are the let's talk about it generation. This one is for the millennial who comes from a little bit of a chaotic family.
Chaotic? Well, this Gen Xer will say that it's more unique.
Okay, well, let's go beneath the seams. Life can be so complex. The human experience is far more expansive than what we can see, and we spend so much time just trying to figure it out. We put on makeup, nice clothing, and we go out into the world trying to hold it all together. When beneath those seams, we are being ripped apart. Some of the ripping is self-inflicted, some of it is because of the pressure of society, but all of it is limiting. Limiting in our quest to just simply be who we truly are. We're more complex than we give ourselves credit for. We fill our brains with popular sayings like, oh, it ain't that serious, loosen up, or just live a little. But life in itself is a deep, non-surface level experience, and sometimes it can be pretty serious. So often we force ourselves to only exist at the surface, never allowing ourselves to be fully exposed. We let the layers pile up until the pressure becomes too much to bear, and then we rip. Sometimes into shreds, and a lot of the times in silence. Beneath means to go below the surface, and seams are what are supposed to keep us joined together. Because we are taught, no matter what, you just have to keep yourself together. We create this image, never letting people in, never going beneath the seams. I don't know if we ever get the answers we expect from life, but I'm starting to find peace in the process of just figuring it out. Instead of forcing the complexities of this human experience to be hidden, let's peel back the layers and go beneath them. Beneath the Seams, a love letter to millennials who are just trying to figure it out. Beneath the Seams, the podcast, now available on all platforms. Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Seams. This is the safe seat, okay? This is the scene seat. I am your host, Kayla Riggins, and this is the space where we show up and we have tough conversations. We talk about the things people don't be wanting to talk about, all in the effort of just exposing our true selves. You know, we put a lot of masks on when we go out into the world, and I personally believe that most things can be healed, or at least start to heal, through a simple conversation. So over here, we go beneath the seams of what life seems to be, because I'm learning that nothing is really what it seems. And so, as you guys can see, today I have two seats. I have a guest in the seat. And this is very special because this person is actually my bloodline. What Beyonce say? My bloodline on the front line. My cousin, Shawntrise, is here. Hey, cousin. I like to introduce people in my own words, and then I like to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. So, Shawntrise is my cousin, my first cousin, which means her mama and my mama are sisters. Sean falls number 2 in the line, so it's 6 of us grandchildren, and Sean is the second oldest, correct?
Correct.
and I am the baby. If you didn't know, if you guys couldn't already tell, I am the baby. And so yes, she's big cousin. We talk a lot about deep stuff, which our family never does. And so that's the conversation that I want to jump in today, because I feel like we have family drama. So we're finna expose it all. But before we
Not
get
drama.
oh, it's drama to me, to me. But before we get into it, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to my people in your own words, and then we'll get into some things.
I am Shawntrise, and Kayla is right. I am number 2, but I'm still number 1.
That's it? That's all you want them to know?
So, both born and raised in New Orleans. I actually live in Houston. It's been 11 years, and I am so happy to be spending spring break with my favorite cousin. Don't get jealous, other cousins.
So y'all will hear, y'all know we from New Orleans, and y'all know how these accents be. And to know me is to know my name is Kayla. But these New Orleans people, y'all,
Kayla.
They just Kayla down. It's something with the accent that they can't say my name right. So when y'all hearing Kayla and y'all like, who she talking about? It's me. That's how New Orleans people say my name. It's been the bane of my existence all my life. But anyway, here we are.
Okay, Kay.
I am so excited to have you here. You ready to get into some things?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
You're going to be your true self?
I'm going to try.
We need you to do it. This is the safe seat. This is the scene seat. Okay. So when I thought about having this conversation with you, like I said to you on the phone, I was like, one of the things that has always really bothered me is our family dynamic. So just to give you guys a little bit of context, our mothers are 2 of 4 children that our grandmother had. But y'all know how back in the day, old people used to get it churned away. And so our family was a product of that. Our grandmother, Sean's mom, is the second born child. My mama is the baby. Sean is the second grandchild. I am the baby. I think I just realized that just now. That's cute. That's cute. So Sean is the second, Auntie Gail, who was Sean's mom. She passed away many years ago from breast cancer. But Auntie Gail was my favorite auntie. I think she passed away when I was about maybe 12-ish, but it's been a long time. She's second in line. And so our grandmother gave her away to be raised by somebody else. And that forever changed, in my opinion, our family dynamic. Y'all know I get real candid on the podcast about how I feel like life experiences really affect me. And that is one thing that has really affected me, because I would look around and I would watch my friends in school be so click tight with their first cousins, have all of these like memories and experiences. But I feel like we were always separate. I feel like because our parents weren't raised together, it was a trickle-down effect. And I don't have memories of all of the cousins having a sleepover at Granny's house, how other first cousins have. And so I've always felt you made it a point to like make sure you were around. Like I remember you come and get us as a little girl and stuff like that. But I've always still felt this disconnect. And it's when you say like certain things like this grandma versus that grandma, I'm like, but that's our grandmother, you know? So I can spill my guts, but I want to give you an opportunity to get in there first. What was the dynamic like for you growing up with 2 sets of grandmothers, 2 sets of first cousins, 2 sets of aunts? And just for context, y'all, her mama and my mama didn't even meet until my mama was about 10, which would have made Auntie Gail, 12? I'm probably going to say some stuff that you might not even know, because I
was just about to jump in and say, I don't know everything. You know more than I do about the family dynamics.
And so my mama said she says, I ain't know nothing. This is how my mama said. She was like, I ain't know nothing about a Gail until I was like 10, 12 years old. That's old to be like walking around life and not realize you have a sibling. So they met at 12 and they were tight. They had their own relationship. But yeah, I definitely feel like it trickled down into the closeness of the cousins. So what has been your experience of that? How do you feel like that has affected us in our adult relationship as cousins?
Well, it's funny you said you miss or didn't have that dynamic of the sleepover with the cousins and being close to your cousins, because I felt the same way, like why I don't have that type of relationship. But I have all these different buckets of cousins, but never really a direct cousin in age, and the one that was closest was Abby. And Abby's like 4 years older than me and was always just so distant, I felt, even though right there she was still distant. Um, I didn't find out we had this dynamics until maybe 9 or 10 years old, that my grandmother that I was raised with wasn't my maternal biological grandmother. And I was upset. I was pissed because the grandmother I grew up with was this nurturing, kind. She's the grandmother that spoiled you, and the grandmother that birthed us, she was the sassy, know-it-all, tell it like it is, bossy, stuck in her ways. She was the mean grandmother, as we called it. We meaning me and my siblings. She was our mean grandmother, so we didn't have that same bond with her that you have.
That's interesting that you call it a bond because um, I don't know that we had our own relationship, but what is it that you think I had with her that you didn't?
Well, you said that was our grandmother. Like, that's our granny. Like, just that. I never felt the. I know she is or was, because she's passed away as well, but that warmth, that grandma, like, I don't know. I didn't have that. And when you said even the way you lit up, like, I sensed that you were like territorial with it in a good way though, like proud, that's my granny, but that's not how I felt about her.
So how did you feel before I share how I felt?
That she was mean. Back in the days when the family members would have the plastic on the sofa, that was her. So going over to her house, it wasn't like a kid-friendly house. We didn't have some of the things you want your grandmother to have, like all the snacks and the cereals and all of that. She cooked everything from scratch, which was great. Grandmothers do that, but I don't know. It just wasn't the fun house. So it wasn't welcoming. Then we had to like sit in a room next to her bed and just sit there while she watched TV, her programs, and we couldn't really like be around in another room. We
So
had to be in the same room with her.
I had the same experience. I chuckle at mean grandmother because I was more around and in her life. I don't just write her off as mean. Mean is definitely a characteristic that you will experience in knowing her, but because I had the full picture, to me, she had a heart of gold. Will do anything for you. It's going to come with a lesson, a scolding. It's going to make you feel like shit, frankly, because she did have a very tough love way of doing things. But my grandmother was very supportive. I remember her being at every choir performance, at every honor roll breakfast. She bought my second car. When I needed another car in college, she bought it. Cash. Like, I didn't know what it was to have a car note. So that's some like privileges and, a little generational wealth, if you will, that
Yeah.
I was exposed to because of her, right? So there's only but so much, and not that we're not free to express our feelings, but there's only but so much like bashing or bad talking I will do because I have your experience too, but I also have the other side of her. And for whatever reason, I feel like y'all never got to get that. And I don't know if it's because I don't know. I guess that's what I'm trying to explore in this conversation because at which point we knew, okay, well, she actually birthed her. I still feel like there was a disconnect or a lack of desire to come around, but maybe it was because you felt like it's boring, not fun, and mean over here.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I just learned something. She went to your
Stuff.
programs and all that stuff, and that, like, so you do have a full picture of her. So I only was there a few times I could recall, being young. I'm sure it was more than a few times, but I could just recall those times where we did spend time. And I felt like the time spent was more, maybe my mom needed a babysitter, and so we were over there. I'm not sure of the dynamics of, hey, let them come spend the weekend or whatever. So it was a small glimpse. So it was a small side of her going places. I think I recall maybe once at church with her.
Okay.
And then once, a 4th of July, we were in La Place and we went to like a family gathering and I met her siblings. And I didn't enjoy that because I'm a city girl. So that was different. But all of these experiences were what I have reflected on so far has been as a child, not like an older teen or an adult. That changed somewhat, but just as a child, I say mean grandmother by comparison to the grandmother I was raised with. So of course that's not going to be her in her totality, but that was my experience because I had someone to compare,
No, I get that because my father's mother would be the equivalent of, I mean, they're polar opposites. Like, she was the stereotypical storybook granny, sweet, and want to bake you pies and cookies and keep feeding you and always want to, like, I have those memories on that side of the family. I spent every summer and every Christmas in Dallas, which is where my father is from, up until I was like 10, 12 years old. So I have that first cousin, we at the water park thing over there, but on my mama's side of the family, it just always feels so distant. Like, I don't have not a one Christmas memory, not a one, somebody graduated from college, somebody's getting married, having a baby memory of everybody being at the matriarch. Grandmothers are the matriarch, and then it's the children, and then it's the grandchildren. There's not a one memory that I have from that side of the family of us all just kind of being together growing up. I think we got a little better at it, like when we had Christmas at your house in Baton Rouge before you moved to Houston. So things were a little different then. But then I've always felt like, probably until recent years, I don't know y'all. And when I say no, because I have very vivid memories with you. One thing, let me tell you about Shawntrise.
Please.
Shawntrise,
get people what they came for.
Shawntrise, go and get the kids. So I do remember this. She was living in the St. Bernard project.
7 years, baby.
Yes, and I remember Sean would get us all together. Sean was the older cousin. So how many years older than me are you? 19?
Ooh, no way.
16? I'm 34.
And I'm 48.
I can't do quick math.
14.
No.
Yeah, that's 14 years.
So and how were you when you were living in the St. Bernard? I feel like in your 20s. I remember being a little girl.
Probably like 20.
Okay. Sean was the older cousin. So 14 years is still sick. Abby's 19 years older than me. That's why I said 19. Okay. Abby was 19 that's our oldest cousin. She was 19 when I was born. That's where that came from. Sorry, cousin. I ain't mean to age you like that. But okay, so 14 years older than me. I have vivid memories. Y'all talk about, one of the things that y'all love to say is that y'all love my confidence and oh my gosh, you're so confident. And, I have my feelings about it, but that ain't what this episode is about. But one of the factors that has contributed to the way I show up is Shawntrise, because I have always had, and I tell this story all the time and I say it to you all the time, you don't realize the impact that you are making in little girl's life. So because Sean was the go get all of the kids cousin, and we would be over there, we would have a sleepover. She would wake up in the morning and cook us grits. Like, I have very vivid memories. So it's like one side of my mouth is like, well, I feel like I don't have memories with my cousins. And then at the other side of my mouth, I'm like, no, you used to come get us. Like, my mama made sure, my mama always made sure I knew who my family was. Mm-hmm. And I do remember hanging out with you and stuff like that. I guess maybe the memories that I want or that I saw other friends have.
Age difference too, though,
is right? What I'm longing for.
Because we've gotten closer because you are an adult, right. I'm an adult. Yeah, so
that's
I think
fair.
The age difference.
That's fair, but what I mean, like those memories of closeness, I'm talking about just being at grandmother's house.
Yeah, I get it.
I think we did a good job or a well enough job on our own when we could, but I don't have those, like, we all at grandmother's house and it's Christmas. And to this day, it's something that's still, But what I was saying about Sean giving her things, I've always had very thick hair. And, when you're a little girl growing up with nappy, thick hair, people, it's not always embraced. And Sean used to comb my hair. Well, first of all, Renee used to comb some of the people's hair, and she never wanted to comb mine because it was too thick. She hated
Renee was my sister.
Yes. And so Sean was like, she don't want to comb my hair. And so Sean would be like, come on, cousin. And so she would sit me down, and these things stick with you. Y'all be nice to little girls because it sticks with you. She would sit me down and she would be like, come on, cousin. And she would take her time and part my hair, super thick hair. To this day, my hair is just super thick. I'm grateful for it today. And it's because you was like, don't worry about her, cousin. Having thick hair is a good thing. She said, because when you get older, you're going to want to do stuff. You're going to want to diet. You're going to want to experiment. And if some fall out, you'll have some more.
And that's true, because I wish I had it.
So you probably will never remember that, but the person who's experiencing that always remember. That's exactly what you said. And to know you, you said it just like that. That sounds like something you was. You was like, so don't worry about her, cousin. You was
it's all about perspective.
Yes, and you was part, and you would take your time, and you would comb my hair so that I could be as cute as Keith and them and the other girls, because Renee was like, it's too thick, and then I was super tender-headed, so that didn't make it any better. But anyway, I share that story to say that there has been positive, obviously, influence and memories that I have with you, but as an adult, I feel like our dynamic as a whole sometimes contributes to the loneliness that I feel in this world. I feel like I think we've done a good job of trying to get to know each other as adults, like you said, but I don't know. A part of me longs for like that super cousin closeness. And sometimes I just don't feel like we have that. And I don't want to keep rambling because I don't want to that face. Wait. You go ahead. Because
wait.
I feel like I'm talking too much anyway. Oh, I'm getting hot. Not me not feeling safe in my own seat.
No, this is good. This is a good conversation for sure. I feel close to you. I feel closer to you now than I've ever felt. But again, I think that's adulthood when, there's less of a gap, right? Life experiences. So I have girl chats with Kate all the time.
That's her trying not to say anything wrong.
I have girl chats, and I appreciate that. And I am like that with all the little cousins, even my niece. I am very transparent with them. I'm transparent with most people, y'all know, but I think that has brought us closer. So for me, my experience I think it's different from what I'm hearing, because I feel really close to you. I think as close as I can be, and we've always, since your adulthood, been in different cities and states. But I think I do a good job with checking in, reaching out, right? It's reciprocated. And now we're working together.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just longing for, maybe I'm allowing the lack of memories of the past to get in the way of, because I agree with you, the closeness that is now our present and our future. I guess when I just think about how I grew up and how I knew everybody, because my mama made it a point, and how we can't sit and talk about family. There's sometimes I bring up certain people, you have no idea who they were. At Grandma Gus's funeral, people speaking to you, happy to see you, and you tapping me like, who is that? I think maybe that type of stuff is weird to me. Even like the dynamic with Sydney, I knew my great aunts. Like Aunt Clara, Auntie Susie, they used to come get us. Auntie Susie loved them all. She was the type of aunt and big cousin you are with the great nieces. We would have sleepovers at her house, wake up Saturday morning, go to the mall. Sydney probably barely know my mama. So I think about stuff, and that's her great aunt. And so I think about stuff like that too. For whatever reason, I've just always felt like, and this is me therapizing myself, I've never really felt very family oriented. I've never really been gung-ho about family. I've never really felt like I've had a family, even though I have tons of family. Mm-hmm. And I think in some ways, it is also why I am disinterested in having a family. I'm just kind of like, if it happens, okay. But it's not something that I am planning for or feel like I need to feel complete. I've always kind of felt like it's just me and my mama.
Well, two things I was thinking about as you were speaking is, so one, the distance. I think that plays a huge role. When I started having kids, I moved away. Katrina happened. We were in Texas and we came back to Baton Rouge. So again, we weren't in the same city. For Sydney to grow up, in Allen, right? Around your mom.
I think the biggest mistake, and this is not to talk ill of anybody's decisions, because who knew what she was going through at the time. Right. And she's not here to defend herself. And even if she was, she wouldn't. See, we agree on that about our grandmother. Yeah. But I do think that was the biggest, that was the beginning of the disconnect. To have two children prior to meeting my grandfather. She had Auntie Gail and she had Tita Gladys. Well, Tita Gladys was first and then Auntie Gail. Both of those children were raised away from her. And then she met my grandfather, married him, and had my uncle and my mother. I think the dynamic of not going back while they were young enough and restoring that completely changed the trajectory of our family dynamic.
This is the thing. Distance is what I keep hearing throughout this. Like, distance is the reason for the division, whether it's physical distance, emotional distance, I would say play a part. Like, we just weren't connected. But it's also why, even me as a mom, I play a role too. Because Abby's kids are older than my kids. Well, not that much older than Alan, right? They could have been closer, but again, distance. They were in Fort Worth. We were in Baton Rouge. Yeah, but we could come together. We can still do better. But as far as us and the older kids, it is what it is. We just can connect as adults.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
What's burdening you, cousin?
Where did that question come? You see burden in my eyes. Burdens.
So people often say like, I am this way because I wasn't raised by my dad, or I believe I'm this way because, like, fill in the blanks. I don't know. I don't know the impact like of that whole grandmother thing. I don't really know. And the dad thing, like, I could go on and on. It's broken. My family dynamics is totally broken. And even for my kids, unfortunately, my kids grew up without grandparents. Being that my mom is deceased and their dad's mom is not in the picture, they didn't have the grandparent experience, and they never saw me interact with my mom, so it's messed up.
My takeaway is don't let the past, so cliche, but don't let the past get in the way of what we have and will continue to have in the future. That's kind of like my bow on the box from our family drama conversation. So I don't want to be the only one, hogging all of the mic time because you're here and you're my guest. So what you want to talk about?
Well, it's valid the way you feel. Let me just say that. Like, it's valid. I think it is just one of those moments where you kind of pass the torch to the future, to the present. And it is what it is. You didn't have control over it. I didn't have control over it. Shit, our parents didn't have control over it. We just have to let it go. And unfortunately for us, we don't have Grandma Gus here to ask those questions. Like we even said, she probably wouldn't answer it. I don't have my mom here to ask those questions. So the information is from the conversations with your mom and the way you grew up.
Well, she will talk about it.
And hopefully, I was about to say, and hopefully she could answer like the questions.
Well, Auntie Gail, your mama, would talk about it with my mama. They had conversations about how hurt she was and how she just didn't understand, and they talked about it.
I didn't have that. Like, I don't have that experience with my mom, like as an adult, like the woman, to know who she was, what she experienced. So that's interesting. I would assume there is some hurt, I don't relate to it because she raised me. I wasn't raised by, someone else. So that's interesting to hear. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like I know, even when I'm talking to Abby, y'all are always like, it's crazy because I'm the baby, but I guess because I was around, I am the child of the parent I am the child of the child who was also the only one around. Gail and Gladys were gone. Uncle Clyde has been incarcerated most of my whole life.
Yeah, pretty much mine too.
Yours. And so it just left my mama. So she was the one who was around, and I think naturally that's how I was closer to our grandmother as well. But like I know a lot of the stories and a lot of the dynamic because my mama was around, we got to.
Abby has a different relationship too because hers
well,
when
she's not here to speak for herself, but
I'm gonna say when I hear her, it does sound like a loving, relationship. And I know she loved us. There's no doubt. I'm not questioning that. It's the way it was shown to us, again, by contrast, that led me to have a much different experience.
Yeah.
But I want to say this. As an adult, I got to understand more of how people feel emotionally as they age. And they're more expressive. As you get older, I'm feeling it now too. Like, you're in that I don't give a phase where it's not to hurt people, but I'm not like coddling people and protecting their feelings. I said, no, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. But I felt the love. I just felt that she was just so unfiltered. As I'm talking about my adult experience now with her, she was just very, because I saw her with Keon, which is Renee's son, and how, you know, nurturing our grandmother, like she was always throwing, let me buy this, she was very helpful and supportive for Renee. She enjoyed when we came around. Of course, she was still her, and she had her comments that she would make about your appearance and stuff like that, which was so shocking. How dare she? But yeah, because I never saw her. I never experienced a like very feminine, glamorous, sensual, fabulous woman. I never saw that in her. It was always, the muumuus, right? Or the church clothes and the church lady hats.
Yeah, and so we have totally different experiences because while I have my own unique sense of style and my love for style is my own, there was definitely some influence there because I know what a thrift store is because of my grandmother. Grandma Gus, we would get up Saturday morning, we would go thrifting and we would buy all of these things. That's how I got into it. That's why I still have that nostalgic feeling when it comes to thrifting. She would be getting ready for church. She called me Duty. That's my nickname for her. So it's Doodle Bug is what it was. But black people always shorten even the nickname. So it was Doodle Bug, then it went to Doodle, then some kind of way Doodle ended up being Duty. Kind of like Renee, how her nickname
And
went.
Keon, because Keon is Doodlebug, that is Do.
Yeah.
They call him Do.
So it went from Doodle Bug to Doodle to Doody, Doody. So when she used to give me stuff and write stuff, I saved some of her handwriting and it would say Doody. Like when she passed away, I found a piece of paper where she had written my number on it. And it said Doody, Doody.
I think that's the first time I'm ever hearing about that nickname.
Because we don't know each other. You see my point? This is my point. But where I was going with this is how you said, how dare she? And I said, oh, because you've never seen that side of her. When she would get ready for church, she would lay out all of the suits and the hats. Hats were her thing. And she would be like, Duty, which one of these you like? This go with this? All of her jewelry. I always loved her rings. I used to sit on her lap at church and play with her rings. And she would say from a little girl, when I leave this earth, my ring's for you, okay, Duty? And sure enough, I have all of her rings. And I cherish them because they're real. Well, let me not pull out my business on the street because y'all can't try to rob me. But they real nice, real gold, old school, diamond, right? And so I actually beg to differ. While she was no us in terms of how we like to put it on, she did have an interest in clothing and fashion. She was presentable. She did get dressed. She had racks and racks of shoes and clothing. So again, our experiences are just so different because I would
I'm listening, girl. I'm like, tell me more. Really? I don't know this lady you speak of.
I would contribute some of my having all of these pair of shoes and liking to have different hats to go with different outfits. I would contribute some of that to being around her. Yeah, for sure. So I know I said we wasn't gonna keep harping on it, but we could just go with the flow of it if that's what this conversation was meant to be about. Maybe that's the way we heal, is by sharing these different perspectives that will maybe help us see her in a different light through the lens of each other's experiences.
I would say it's important, and you hear it in this conversation, to talk, to really share as a mother with your children. That's just, if the grandparents aren't in the picture, we can't do nothing about it. But as a mother, while you have your kids, talk to your kids about who you are, because our kids just see us as parents. I only saw my mama as my mama. I don't know, the woman, Grandma Gus. I don't what you talking about. I remember the clothes, but I don't remember anything that made me oh, she's pretty. You know what I mean? Oh, she looks good. She looks well put together. Because most of the memories, again, she had the house robes on, or the slacks or shirt. I don't have oh wow, she looks. But my grandmother Madeline, I remember her putting on her makeup. So how you lit up and you talked about that, I remember my grandmother moisturizing her skin after the bath, and the jewelry and the matching and the ironing of the clothes, and always presenting. I just don't have that same experience. So I'm glad we're talking about it. I wonder what Abby would.
We're going to leave her out of this. She ain't here to have her conversations. But because she lived with her in high school, I think she would have similar stories too about seeing the full circle. Y'all only saw Moo mean mama.
Yeah, that's unfortunate too.
We went to church every Sunday. So I would see her at church. So I see her in her Sunday's best. I see her with the blush on her cheeks from the lipstick. So yeah.
And that's why when I hear y'all talk of her, I hear of a more loving or more affectionate experience, like you said, sitting on her lap or maybe playing with her rings or her leaving that to you, or just mine's is so distant. It's, far removed from your experience. And now I feel like I'm a victim here. No, just playing.
I mean,
no, but it's just like, I'm glad though to hear she wasn't just that person that I saw her as, that y'all had different experiences. That's good. I don't know why I couldn't take part in that.
And if I can add some advocacy, I don't know, and this is not to blame, but it always felt like there was a lack of interest to be bothered because she was just so, to use your word, mean. So as the cousin of the daughter who was always around, I also felt like I was the only grandchild who was always around. And sometimes it is or was frustrating to feel like, well, how come they just don't show, this is still your grandmother. Like, how come there's just no effort to be involved here? That was incredibly frustrating, especially as she started to get older and started ailing. And yeah, it was just like, I know you guys lived away, but so did I. There wasn't a time where I would touch down in New Orleans and not go see her. I just wouldn't do it. But you guys did it all the time, but you didn't feel connected. Yeah. So it didn't mean, yeah.
Yep. So true. I mean, I'm thinking about the visits. I remember having those visits, but the phone calls. And as she got older, it was better. The relationship was, I felt it was a loving relationship. I felt like I understood her. But when I was a young adult, I stayed away because I grew up as her being a mean grandmother. And so when I would call, and we all have that experience, felt like you were getting a lashing, why you don't call me? Nobody come see me. And for me being younger at that time and not understanding the dynamics of a aging person, for me, I received it as an attack. Like, why am I'm calling to check on you, see how you're doing, and you're attacking me for not doing it as much. So as a result, yeah, we did stay away. We felt, and I say we because me and Lee, we have talked about this. I can't speak for Renee because I think even Renee had a different experience because being younger, she was around her more too than I recall probably us being, but yeah, it was kind of like a nagging, when we would, talk and until I got older and I was able to put that aside and it wasn't personal anymore. But I know that was hard for Renee because I had gotten to that point of maturity, like, oh, this isn't personal towards me. This is something that, first of all, it's a part of her character, but she means well. It's coming from a loving place. But again, when people are aging, they feel disconnected from people, and they are because everybody's moved on, they have their own families, and not everybody comes and they're so close. But we also would talk and felt like, well, that's because we never had that. So as a result, even at her getting, older, it wasn't like easy to just be like, oh, now we're going to be like kumbaya about it, So yeah, I think that definitely played a part of coming back, especially when I was younger. It's like, that lady, that's all she do is fuss at us when we talk to her.
And you're not wrong. I just got to see a full picture. And sometimes I just wish, well, if I'm willing to deal with it, y'all deal with it too. But how do you tell somebody else to stick around and deal with abuse? Because in some ways, that's what it was. It was abusive. And I'm not saying, I want to be careful with my words because I don't feel like I had an abusive grandmother in the way that you think of the word abuse classically and traditionally, right? Meaning physically and emotionally. She was not those things. But being mean and having a negative connotation, a negative disposition,
that's
in
it.
some ways can be abusive to the nurturing of the grandmother-granddaughter relationship. I feel like this conversation didn't have much structure, but like you said, it was a good thing. I feel like we just kind of like you said, I love that you said what I enjoyed about this is that we needed to talk, because I say that all the time, and that is the premise of this pod. It is an extension of my real life, because I do think that is where we connect. We like to talk, and we come from parents who didn't talk about anything, and grandparents who were even more on mute. And so I think your generation is the catalyst for that, and then millennials, we are the let's talk about it generation. So I think that is what helps bring us closer, and I like that we were able to have this conversation publicly, because maybe in some way it helps somebody else with their family dynamic, or just helps them think about it and put it into perspective. So again, this is a conversation, not an interview. So before we get out of here, is there anything what you want to talk about? Is there anything you want to talk about? What you want to talk about? I mean, uh-oh. Listen, I'm only going to extend the invitation. You keep on thinking, I'm going to close the show.
No, I like this. I am speaking from a fan perspective of beneath the scenes. I do like the realness, because it definitely comes off very authentic. I like the topics. I am glad that you actually have me here, because I like to see more of an engagement with, other people as well. Not saying that has to be necessarily the direction of the platform, but just to hear, a perspective to bounce it off. I've been a fan since you were in New York doing it, and I have been telling her to come back to it. I enjoyed it a whole lot, so I'm glad that you're back to it. And being beneath the scenes today, there's a lot of work going on, behind the scenes, no pun intended, and it's one woman show, and you do a great job. And I am glad you brought it back. I'm glad to be a guest on your revamp or reboot of Beneath the Scenes. There's so much to talk about, and I feel like you have the right messaging, in those topics. Like, you find the right little bit of, let me pull this out and let me express this. It's so much, right? Like, even in the conversation we were having today, we could talk about this. It just evolves. But I like how you just pull it together, like all of the ingredients, and then just like, oh, pull it right all together, and it's like, this is it.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I want to learn more about how you do that. That's your flavor. And I like it, because it brings in exactly what it is that you need to say. Not necessarily what you want to say, but what you need to say as it evolves naturally. And you just can bring it all together. I like that. And congratulations on this, and much success to you.
Thank you, cousin.
Yes.
I didn't know I was your favorite cousin. Did you just make that up?
No, I don't have anyone else that I love more.
And I just want to say too, because I have I want to make sure I don't overshadow what you just said. I receive it. Thank you for your support and advocacy for me, because that means something too. Like, when your family and your friends like really get behind you, like not just in a, oh girl, that's cool what you're doing type of way, but like, you've always been like, oh, my cousin is, you've always, when I didn't even feel big or like I was doing something special, it was always like, wow, to you. Yeah. And I receive what you just said, and I appreciate that, because I be needing that push sometimes. So I received that. I just want to make sure I didn't overshadow it, because I feel like I told a joke right after you said it.
Yeah. Let's segue though to, let's go a little deeper. Okay. Because I need you to know, there was a time, and you shared it publicly. You shared a video when you were going through a very, very difficult, dark time.
I'm currently in a similar time.
Yeah, but you were so transparent about that. And although at that time I couldn't relate to what you were going through, my heart just sank. But I admired your strength, because you were very vulnerable. And it's easy to get dressed up, and smile for the cameras. But what is behind or beneath the scenes is a real person. And you put that real person out there. And I just want for us all to be encouraged to be more authentic, because it's easy to get caught up in the BS. And those of you who are very close to me, I think I have a family of beautiful people, period. And I look at the beauty through the hair and the makeup and the style of clothes and stuff like that. And for me, I feel like I'm the rebel in terms of the hair is cut off. I don't really wear makeup like that. I just only been wearing nails a year, and I feel like I'm feminine. It doesn't, mean I'm less feminine, but I don't feel like I'm the girly girl often in comparison. But I think you all are so beautiful, and the way you show up, you can show your authentic self, whether it's with the makeup and without the makeup. So I want to go there for a second and just say thank you for sharing. And I encourage people to just be themselves, to just share, because it's hard right now. You just said you're in a season of that again, right? It comes around. I believe I'm in a new season. I'm not going to claim that I am in any space that doesn't welcome light and goodness and gratefulness. But the reality is we all handle it differently, and it can get so heavy. And we all use the term life is lifing. This is the first time that I've been aware of lifing for everybody I know. Mm-hmm. Like, seriously. Mm-hmm. This is the very first time in my life. There have always been times where, that one person that just can't quite get it together, or this other person, you're like, oh, this happened, but when I talk to friends, family members, even, got texts from people saying, hey, I saw your video clip and life is life. And it's just like, everybody. And I think this is an escape. It's going to provide substance, but also for a minute, people can escape from whatever they're feeling in that moment, but hopefully walk away feeling a little bit better because you took some time to
relate,
spend with them, and share your story.
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
Yeah.
Can you, just for a second, can you speak on why you chose to do that then, and like now to keep going? Like, why
I decided to be vulnerable
yes.
on the internet?
Yeah. And I just say that for people who don't know that. Can you just kind of like, just a little bit, just share that and tie that to, only because you also just said you're going through that now. Yeah. So tell us just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I like that question. Okay, wait. Cousin, this is getting good. So now we're pivoting into a whole nother conversation, which I love. So we're going to have to make this a part 2. You are my first part 2. I have never double dipped. I have never double dipped with a guest. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a bow on this box for this episode, and then we'll pick up next week with more. So thank you for being here for part 1, cousin.
You're welcome.
Listen. Y'all know, no matter what you're going through in this life, in this world, if you got a little family drama you working through like us, if you have friendship drama, whatever it is, hopefully you're having the right conversations and it's helping you expose and be more of your true self, and that you are enjoying the process. Because as you guys know, my prayer for you, no matter what you're going through, my prayer for you, my wish for you is that you simply find peace in the process of just figuring it out. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.